Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Warriors, Andrew Wiggins, Brandon Podziemski's heated NSFW exchange goes viral. The Golden State Warriors used a third-quarter surge to come away with a 112-102 win over the San Antonio Spurs on Monday. They had to get over a slow first half, which included a small heated moment between two Dubs players. During the second quarter, Andrew Wiggins and Brandon Podziemski both found themselves leading a fast break. Podziemski was asking for an outlet, but Wiggins chose to attempt a layup himself. Wiggins got fouled, causing the attempt to miss, and Podziemski wasn't happy about not receiving a pass. While minor arguments between teammates are usually common in high-level professional sports, the fact that cameras caught the exchange only meant one thing: it would eventually become a discussed topic online. As expected, basketball fans are already reacting to the in-game moment. Many sided with Podziemski, stating that Wiggins should have made the right play by passing the rock. Other users, though, felt as if Podziemski was out of line for raising his voice at a tenured veteran like Wiggins. Regardless of the heated moment, the Warriors still managed to trim San Antonio's early 11-point lead down to 2 by halftime. Entering the second half, it was an entirely different tune altogether. In the third quarter, the Dubs outscored the Spurs 32-18. They would not look back, maintaining the lead until the final buzzer. Andrew Wiggins and Brandon Podziemski both contributed to the win. The veteran forward scored 16 points on 6-0 75% shooting, while the rookie tallied 14 points and 8 rebounds off the bench. Leading the Warriors was Jonathan Kuminga, who had 22 points and 5 rebounds. The Dubs continue their road trip as they head to Dallas to face Luka Doncic and the Mavericks on Wednesday. Pivotal timeout versus Spurs pushes Warriors where they need to be. There were stretches Monday night when the Warriors, out-hustled by the lowly Spurs for the second time in 3 days, looked like a team quitting on its coach. Like the first 2 minutes of the second half, when San Antonio went on an 8-0 run to take a 10-point lead. Facing the prospect of a third consecutive loss, second straight to a Spurs squad in the Western Conference cellar, coach Steve Kerr immediately signaled for a timeout. He had words to share. When play resumed, the Warriors presented a different face, one of defensive engagement and determination. They summoned the intensity required to not only seize a 112-102 victory but also to give themselves a chance to revive their goal of a guaranteed NBA playoff berth. "They came out and hit us hard in third quarter," Chris Paul told reporters at Frost Bank Center. "We couldn't really get stops. We were turning the ball over a little bit. And then we called a timeout and we just settled in. Then we just started defending and getting out in transition and just trying to get a little bit more aggressive. When the Warriors are defending, transition tends to follow. They're at their best when they're aggressive at both ends. That has been the formula all season." Once it was applied, the game swung away from the Spurs. Trailing 68-58 when Kerr called timeout with 10:09 left in the third quarter, Golden State went on an astonishing 28-4 run, taking an 86-72 lead with 3:23 left in the quarter and maintaining control to close out the Spurs. The third quarter defense: "After that quick 8-0 start for them, we really turned up our defense," Kerr said. "I don't know what they shot in the second half, but we held them to 42. And the way that team had scored on us the other night and in the first half, that's what it was going to take to win the game. That's what it's going to take for these Warriors to win most any game." The Spurs shot 31.8% in the second half. They were limited to 16.7% shooting and committed 5 turnovers during the 7 minutes when the Warriors flipped the game. 2 days after absorbing their ugliest loss of the season, against the Spurs at Chase Center, the Warriors had a statement to make, not so much to their opponents, but to themselves. That even though they were without Stephen Curry, they were not ready to give away a second consecutive game to a San Antonio team that was eliminated from the playoffs last week, more than a month before the end of the regular season. "We didn't bring it on Saturday," Brandon Podziemski conceded, referring to the 126-113 loss. "They played really well. They're a team that tries to create an advantage and swings the ball around and tries to shoot open shots. If you're not locked in and you're not playing with energy and force, they made 51% of their threes last game. Tonight, holding them to 38% was a big key for us. But also, just showing what we're about and not letting anybody punk us. Beating the Spurs doesn't count for much in Golden State's the grand scheme, certainly not with the next two games coming against the Mavericks on Wednesday in Dallas and against the Lakers on Saturday in Los Angeles. Those two games are crucial to the Warriors' hopes of rising from 10th place in the West to at least 6th. But this was enough to stop a slide that began Thursday with a loss to the Chicago Bulls, another sub-.500 team. "Yeah, the Chicago game was a tough one," Paul said. "We felt like that was a winnable game. San Antonio, the other day, they just played harder than us. We didn't really move the ball, didn't execute. They were at times following a similar script on Monday, letting the Spurs take an 11-point lead in the first quarter, wiping it out in the second quarter, only to start giving it back early in the third. Once that was rinsed away, the Warriors played quality basketball. Perhaps it took visions of being relegated to the NBA play-in tournament because of a series of losses to teams going nowhere to bring clarity and purpose to the Warriors. Or maybe it was a matter of Kerr calling an emergency timeout that resulted in the kind of attitude adjustment they're going to need to keep pushing upward over the final 18 games. Steph Curry's injury status versus Spurs revealed. The Golden State Warriors have released their injury report versus the San Antonio Spurs, and Steph Curry has again been ruled out with an ankle injury. Curry missed Golden State's previous game against San Antonio with the same injury, one the Warriors dropped despite Victor Wembanyama being out with an injury as well. While Curry is not expected to miss much time, the Warriors cannot afford to continue dropping games in his absence. This is especially the case when the Warriors are up against bottom-tier teams like the Spurs, who the Warriors were favored over even with Curry out. The Western Conference standings remain very tightly contested, and that is especially true for the play-in tournament bracket. The Warriors and Lakers have been going back and forth between the 9th and 10th seeds, with Los Angeles currently having the edge on Golden State right now. Both the Lakers and Warriors would love to escape the 9th seed and reach 7th or 8th, which would give them 2 games to win one in the play-in tournament. While Golden State's path to a top 8 seed was looking pretty open, they have complicated things with these recent losses. Looking to get back on track, the Warriors will face the Spurs again on Monday, and again they will be without Steph Curry. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation Steph Curry? Leave your opinion in the comments.